Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our 5-minute Bible study. Today, Genesis chapter 27. Check out all the free resources on our website. There's a link down in the description below, including this outline. So, when did the events of chapter 27 take place? Well, using some of the details that we've already talked about and some of the details in upcoming chapters in the book of Genesis, I think it's safe to say that the events of 27 took place between the years 1816 BC and 1757 BC. It's difficult to nail down specific dates, but I think that's a fair time range. We don't have any new characters really in this chapter as far as our main characters. We've got Isaac. He was Abraham's son, and he was married to Rebekah, and the text tells us that God had blessed him. He was very rich. Rebekah was Isaac's wife and the father of Jacob and Esau. Esau was the firstborn son of Isaac and Rebekah, and the text tells us that he was a skillful hunter in verse 27 of chapter 25. And then Jacob, the twin brother of Esau, he was the favorite of Rebekah, his mother. And according to Genesis chapter 28, it appears that the events recorded in chapter 27 took place in Beersheba, which you can see marked on the map. So this is another pretty well-known Bible story. There's a lot of those in the book of Genesis. Our first section, verses 1 through 4, Isaac prepares to bless Esau. Isaac was growing old and blind at this point, and he feared that the day of his death was near, and so he told his son Esau to go out hunting and to bring him back some delicious food. And he intended to bestow his blessing on Esau when he returned. We don't know a lot about what this blessing was, but it was apparently very important. It was a verbal blessing that the father spoke over his eldest son, and apparently it also had some spiritual power. Or maybe I should just say that it wasn't just words. It wasn't just well wishes. It seems like there was something more to this, and it seems God was behind it. We have deception in verses 5 through 17. Rebekah and Jacob planned to deceive Isaac. So Rebekah overheard Isaac's intentions to give Esau the blessing. And so when Esau left to go hunting, she called Jacob to her and started devising a way to deceive Isaac into giving Jacob the blessing instead of Esau. She told Jacob she would cook the meat of 2 young goats in a way that Isaac really loved. And then she would give the meat to Jacob, and he would go in and pretend to be Esau. Rebekah brought Esau's clothes and gave them to Jacob, and then she even took the hair of a goat, and she put the hair on Jacob's hands and on his neck because Esau is described as being a very hairy man. So when everything was ready and the food was prepared, she sent Jacob in to talk to Isaac. So in verses 18 through 30, Isaac is tricked and he ends up blessing Jacob. Jacob approached his father, and when his father asked who he was, he lied and he said, "I am Esau, your firstborn." Now Isaac was immediately suspicious at how Esau could have returned from the hunt and prepared the game this quickly. He asked his son to approach him so that he could feel him. And upon touching his hands, he said, quote, "The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau." Isaac asked again, "Are you really my son Esau?" And Jacob lied again, and he said, "I am." So, contented that it was Esau standing in front of him, Isaac pronounced a blessing over Jacob. The blessing included promises of prosperity and that he would be the Lord over his brother. So then in verses 31 through 40, Esau receives a blessing, but it's a lesser blessing. Almost as soon as Jacob left his father, Esau returned from the hunt. And when he came into his father, Isaac, quote, trembled very violently when he realized what had happened. He told Esau that he had been deceived and that he had already given the greater blessing to Jacob. And Esau cried out, quote, with an exceedingly loud and bitter cry. And he asked his father if he had any blessing left for him. And Isaac blessed him, but again, it was a lesser blessing. And he told him that he would be his brother's servant, at least for a time. And then our final section, verses 41 through 46, unsurprisingly, Jacob has to flee from his brother Esau. Esau was waiting around for his father to pass, and then he planned to kill his brother. Rebekah found out about this, and she sent Jacob to Haran, to the house of her brother Laban. And if you remember, Haran was the place where Abraham sent his servant to find a wife for Isaac. Okay, and now for our application as we close down this Bible study for today. Tricking a poor old blind man is a disgraceful thing to do, right? I don't think there's any question about that. But God can use people with disgraceful pasts for future good. That's a hard word to say. Pasts. Later in the book of Genesis, we're going to read about how God used Jacob to father the Israelite nation. Jacob's 12 sons would become the 12 tribes of Israel, and the nation of Israel is going to be super important to the rest of the Bible story. And likewise, your usefulness in God's story isn't limited just because you have a few disgraces marring your past. God can change people, and he can do great things through people who have bad history.